That's coming up. Starting today, there will be no more mandatory COVID-19 testing for travelers going to Langkawi. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the decision was made following the government's go-ahead to allow interstate travel beginning yesterday.
He added that the condition that all adult tourists are fully vaccinated remains and that tourists are still encouraged to conduct a COVID-19 self-test before embarking on a trip to Langkawi. Khairi said individuals who are confirmed to be COVID-19 positive and are in a period of isolation and observation, or individuals identified as close contacts to a positive case who are undergoing a quarantine and surveillance order are not allowed to travel. He added that between the start of the Langkawi travel bubble pilot project on September 16th until October 10th, only 216 individuals out of 54,341 people tested positive for the virus.
Traffic along Malaysia's major highways increased since the restart of the interstate travels yesterday. Khairi Jamaluddin reassured the nation today that his ministry will monitor the situation to nip any potential COVID-19 outbreaks in the bud.
Plus, traffic revealed on the first day of interstate travel that overall traffic was up 14%, while northbound up 20.5%, southbound up 15.4%, while Klang Valley was up 9.7%. Khairi said the government will monitor disease patterns and mobility data to predict potential COVID-19 outbreaks. He added that highway concessionaries will be reminded to ensure high-risk areas in RNRs like Suraus are well ventilated, with clear social distancing markers ahead of the expected exodus this weekend.
The High Court set December 14 to hear an application by the group to challenge the rejection by the government towards their appeal to register the Malaysian United Democratic Alliance (MUDA) as a political party. Federal Counsel Muhammad Salihuddin Ali said the date set by Senior Assistant Registrar Nur Aslamia Jamil would be heard before Judge Datuk Nurin Badaruddin. Lawyer Lim Wei Jiat, representing the group consisting of Muar MP Syed Saddiq Syed Abdul Rahman and 12 others, confirmed the matter. On September 21st, the group obtained leave to initiate legal proceedings against the Home Minister and ROS for rejecting their appeal to register MUDA as a political party. Syed Saddiq and the 12 others filed a fresh judicial review application on August 24th to challenge that decision. They named the Home Minister, Dr. Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, and the ROS as the first and second respondent, respectively. They are seeking a declaration that the application to register MUDA as a political party was in order and in compliance with all requirements under the Societies Act 1966. They are also seeking a mandamus order for both respondents to register MUDA 14 days from the date of the order, as well as aggravated and exemplary damages and other relief in orders deemed fit by the court. On August 18, MUDA withdrew its judicial review application to file a fresh one on grounds that it had become academic as the Home Minister had made a decision on their appeal on August 12. Malaysia remains consistent and clear on its stance on the controversial AUKUS security pact between Australia, UK and the US. Defence Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Hussein said today that the federal government viewed the pact as having potential to undermine peace and stability in Southeast Asia.
He added that AUKUS could also provoke other powers to act more aggressively in the region, particularly the South China Sea. Hishamuddin was responding to a question from Parit MP Datuk Muhammad Nizar Zakaria, who wanted to know the government's latest stance on AUKUS. This is following Australian Special Envoy Vice Admiral David Johnston's recent visit, whereby he emphasised Malaysia does not want to be dragged into the geopolitics of the world's big powers in the region. Hishamuddin said the AUKUS pact must be collectively addressed by ASEAN countries as a 10-country bloc.
Secara individu, mungkin kekuatan ketenteraan kita terhadap Amerika Syarikat dan China tidak ke mana sangat, tetapi 10 negara dalam satu rantau yang cukup strategik untuk China dan juga Amerika Syarikat. Penting untuk kita berdepan dengan dua-dua kuasa ini secara dekat, tetapi solidariti ASEAN ini tidak boleh berpecah.
The matter will be deliberated in the upcoming ASEAN Defence Ministers meeting retreat in Brunei next month. The plan has divided countries in Southeast Asia. The Philippines, a US defence ally, has openly backed the pact, in sharp contrast to Malaysia and Indonesia, who sounded the alarm that the pact could lead to an arms race among rival superpowers in the region.
As the head of the executive, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob has always been seen as a calm and collected person. He, however, had to stop for a while after being emotionally overwhelmed in the Dewan Rakyat today as he spoke about hardcore poverty when tabling the 12 Malaysia plan.
Membasmi kemiskinan tegar dan merapatkan jurang pendapatan. Isu kemiskinan sangat dekat di hati saya. Dilahir dan membesar daripada keluarga penoreh getah. Saya sangat memahami kesusahan dan kepayahan hidup rakyat. Pandemik COVID-19 yang telah melanda telah meningkatkan kadar kemiskinan, menjejaskan pendapatan individu dan isi rumah, seterusnya menghimpit keluarga kita dalam kemiskinan.
The government has yet to make COVID-19 vaccination for civil servants mandatory. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Special Functions, Datuk Dr. Abdul Latif Ahmad, said that to date, up to 98% of the country's 1.6 million public servants have been inoculated.
He said that vaccination for government workers is still done voluntarily under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program, and that any plans to make it mandatory will require conditions, rules and engagement. The government has been reluctant to make vaccination compulsory, citing legal and ethical concerns. But it is facing growing pressure to reverse its policy as the number of COVID-19 deaths increases. While some argue that making vaccination mandatory is a violation of their rights, others have also pointed out how civil servants, especially those on the front lines like teachers, can be a public health risk if they are not vaccinated.
Now we'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Ayuh keluarga Malaysia, kita bulatkan tekad dan bersatu hati untuk terus memelihara serta mempertahankan kedaulatan negara. Sebagai keluarga Malaysia yang besar, kita harus bertoleransi dalam semua perkara. Hormat menghormati serta mengekalkan perpaduan rakyat yang berbilang kaum, agama dan bangsa serta integrasi nasional silang budaya adalah tunjang kekuatan kita sebagai sebuah negara bangsa yang bersatu. Umpama selembar benang dikait, ditenun dan dijalin, akhirnya menjadi kain yang sempurna.
But why stop there? When we can focus our AI and IoT expertise on business innovation, helping tackle some of the toughest challenges in the workplace. When it comes to innovating for a healthier world and a more sustainable society, we'll never stop. Fujifilm, value from innovation.
Ayuh keluarga Malaysia.
Welcome back. At least 28 people have died in China's northern Shanxi province due to floods caused by torrential rains. 13 were killed after a bus they were traveling in plunged into a rushing river. The normally dry Shanxi region received 3 months' rain in just 1 week, causing severe flooding that has affected nearly 2 million people so far. Authorities estimate the floods have caused a direct economic loss of more than $770 million. Some 60 coal mining operations in Shanxi have also been disrupted. This has led to coal prices in China to surge to an all-time high. Shanxi is the country's biggest coal-producing province, supplying a third of coal used in China's power plants. Over in the Philippines, Tropical Storm Kompasu triggered landslides and flash floods across the country. Officials said at least 9 people had been killed and 11 were still missing. More than 1,600 villagers were evacuated in several towns and cities as winds knocked down trees and power. The storm hit the most populous island of Luzon yesterday before sweeping across the Philippines towards the South China Sea. 4 people were killed in landslides, 5 drowned in flash floods, including one who was swept away by strong waves from the sea. About 20 storms and typhoons lash the Philippines each year, bringing heavy rains that trigger deadly landslides. Kompasu is the 13th tropical storm to enter the Philippines this year. Shares in Thailand's hotels and airlines soared in this morning's trading. This follows the government's announcement for international borders to reopen to fully vaccinated tourists starting November 1st. Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha announced last night that mandatory quarantine would be scrapped for vaccinated tourists from low-risk countries. The list includes the United States, Britain and China. Thailand managed to keep COVID-19 infections low until this year, but it was detrimental to jobs and revenues in its vital tourism sector. Since 2019, the tourism industry lost $50 billion in annual revenue, an 82% plunge. A small plane crashed into a residential suburb in San Diego, killing at least 2 people. 2 others were injured when the plane, a Cessna 340, smashed into homes and a delivery van, killing the driver and the pilot. The crash left a trail of destruction, including damages on 10 homes. Local authorities say the plane was heading in to land at the Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport when it crashed. Shortly before, an air traffic controller warned the pilot that the aircraft was too low. The controller repeatedly urged the plane to climb to 5,000 feet, but it remained at 1,500 feet. China will establish an international fund to support biodiversity protection in developing countries. President Xi Jinping pledged to donate $232 million and called on other countries to contribute to the fund. Xi made the pledge at the United Nations Biodiversity Conference known as COP15 held in Kunming, China. Countries are negotiating a set of targets to prevent the destruction of the Earth's nature and wildlife by 2030. Experts, however, warn that China's efforts to conserve biodiversity at home have not been matched by efforts to clean up its global supply chains or embarked on sustainable investments overseas. Xi earlier pledged that China would not build new coal-fired power projects abroad. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro was accused of crimes against humanity at the International Criminal Court (ICC) for his alleged role in the destruction of the Amazon rainforest. This would be the first case seeking to clearly link deforestation to loss of life. In a petition to the ICC, activists argue that Bolsonaro must be held criminally responsible for the assault on the Amazon rainforest that has exacerbated the climate emergency. It said that Bolsonaro was responsible for approximately 4,000 square kilometers of lost rainforest each year, and that monthly deforestation rates had accelerated by up to 88% since he took office in January 2019. Bolsonaro has been the subject of 3 previous ICC complaints by indigenous groups, but organizers say this one is the first to highlight the explicit link between forest loss and global human health. It aims to a legal precedent that makes it easier to hold ecological criminals to account and prevent similar crimes in the future. The government is set to raise the statutory debt ceiling for the second time to 65% of GDP. Tonight, we discuss with our guests about the implications of the higher debt limit and how to make the most of the expanded fiscal space. That's coming up on Consider This. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Saraya Mia. We'll see you again.